What is up, everyone? This is Ash Kumra with KCI 88.9 FM. This is Entrepreneur Nation. We have an awesome guest. Many of you heard me earlier talking about the effectiveness of self-branding and how this is imperative for your online footprint and also your subsequent company that you're representing. I not only have someone who really understands self-branding, but she is a successful digital marketer. And you know, many people say they do books, which is fantastic, but it also takes one to not only be a best-selling author, but she has clout from like brands like Forbes.com and Huffington Post. I was just using the cool kid way of saying that. And we're going to have a great conversation with her. Her name is Ginzburg. She has, again, this amazing book called Win New Customers. And the byline is how to attract, connect, and convert more prospects into customers in 60 days using digital marketing strategies. And just to give you a little background on her bio, she's been in the digital marketing space for over 10 years. She herself is a serial entrepreneur, and her clients have ranged from Fortune 500 companies to innovative startups. And her passion is helping entrepreneurs and business owners. And I know this personally because she recently moved here a little while back and from out of state, and we're both part of an entrepreneurship group. And she was just such a go-getter and like wanting to connect with people, building relationships, throwing it down, saying, hey, how can I help? What can I do? And so, you know, I haven't read her book yet, but I could tell you already off of what I know of her and my interactions with her and just how she's just a go-getter that I could tell that this book is the real deal. So what up? How you doing?
Awesome. I'm super excited to be here. Thank you for having me on the show.
You're welcome.
Yeah, looking forward to the next 40 minutes chatting about entrepreneurship, marketing, all that good stuff.
All right. Well, let's get into your past first. Tell us about how did you get started into this world? Because it says you've done this for over 10 years.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I started off 2007, back in the day. Actually, 2007, so it's going to be almost 11 years starting in February. And I worked for some companies back then doing digital marketing and just really kind of fell in love with it. Came up through the ranks, was a specialist, and came up to a manager position and so on and so forth. And then about 4.5 years ago, I decided that it was really time for me to pivot. It was time for me to do something on my own. I've always wanted to do something on my own, to start up my own company, and I just felt that was the time. And also, I felt like I could work so much better directly with clients, instead of having an employer kind of in the middle. So just adding much more value if I work directly with the clients. So I decided to create my own digital marketing agency.
Okay. And tell us about the first win, I'm curious to hear about, you know, that first one or two clients that made you say, okay, I'm going to stay in this. I'm not going to give up.
Yep, I got a couple of those, and it's, you know, when you're first starting out, it's always hard. It's always difficult. I'll be honest with you. It's never, you know, everybody always thinks that it's all roses and honey and everything is fantastic. But, you know, you'll get some small clients in the beginning. That's what I got. I got a couple of small clients in the beginning, enough to just keep me going and then be like, okay, I think this is working. I'm doing something good. I'm helping. I'm adding value. So let's continue on getting more clients because I feel like I can add additional value.
Okay. And were you focused on a specific niche or industry when you first started? Like when you said digital marketing, was it like a certain tactical skill set or certain industry like construction or, I don't know, consumer products?
So in terms of the digital marketing itself, we do direct response digital marketing. So that includes everything from creating your customer avatar, content strategy, Facebook advertising, Google AdWords, creating sales funnels and nurture funnels, retargeting. And in terms of the verticals, so we have done quite a bit with digital courses, so digital e-courses, business owners who have some sort of training that they want to put into a digital course, and those have really worked out really well for us. It's a great industry. It's very profitable, so that's one of the reasons I think a lot of course creators have been coming to us to help them with their digital marketing. Okay.
I want to talk a little more about courses, and then we'll get into more of self-branding in your book. Courses. So when I think of courses, I think of Udemy, lynda.com, or an information marketer that has a webinar course like 7 steps to become a cryptocurrency trader. I see that in every ad now. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
A little bit, yeah. Although most of these course creators are independent, they're not part of Udemy, they're not part of Lynda. They have their own, typically their own brand, and they do things like, okay, I created a course on Facebook advertising, or for example, like Brendan Bouchard is a really big one. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Of course I have. You work with Brendan Bouchard?
No, I don't work with him.
Wow.
I'm just giving you an example of somebody who does digital courses. Amy Porterfield, I'm sure Digital Marketer has a bunch of courses. They do have a bunch of courses. So yeah, these would be the types of examples. No, I don't work with Brendan Bouchard. That would be awesome if I did, but that would be an example. So they are not on Lynda. So like Brendan Bouchard is not on lynda.com, so he has his own website, his own brand, and he has his own courses that he markets just directly from his own website.
So when does it make sense to be on a Lynda or Udemy versus like a your own site.com?
I think maybe when you're first getting started. I actually have not worked with Udemy or Lynda in the past. Like, I don't know much about it. I mean, I've taken some courses on there, but in terms of from what I can see, I think it's a good way to get started. So if you're just getting started in the digital e-course space, then that's a good one to start with. But if you have already maybe created several courses, have a personal brand of your own, then I think it might make sense just to go direct to consumer.
I get that. Okay, I respect that. So you then decided to, write this book, right?
Yeah, so I've been wanting to write a book for the past couple of years, and the stars aligned in 2017. I met a coach who, that's what he does. He helps people like me, entrepreneurs, get kind of everything in their brain downloaded into a book, and he helps them create the book and then also put it on Amazon, put it on CreateSpace. So he was a business coach for me, and he was fantastic, I thought. And yeah, I met him, and that's what he did. So I was like, okay, great, let's work together. It was just kind of serendipitous, I guess.
Okay. So when you came through this book, who's the target customer for it?
So actually, I have that's a piece of it in the introduction. The target customer is entrepreneurs, small to medium-sized businesses. Focusing on, a lot of them are focusing on the digital e-course space, but it is applicable to any industry. I mean, we have worked with B2B, B2C clients, so these concepts are really applicable to most, I would say, businesses out there.
That's awesome. I'm just curious, like, let's pretend you were getting started and you picked up this book. You picked up this book for the first time. What would be some pieces of knowledge that would have helped you when you were in your early days as an entrepreneur?
I would say a lot of it would have been really helpful. It took me to write the book and to put the framework together that I've been using for my clients, my private clients. If I would have known all of these pieces back in the day, I think it would have made my life so much easier. So things like creating your customer avatar, so understanding who is your target market, understanding what are their pain points and frustrations, creating actually like a document of your customer profiles. Creating content. I think one of the things that people ask me, it's like, if you were to start over, like, what would be the first thing that you would do? I would start creating content back. If I knew what it would be like to create content back in the day when I first started, that would be the first thing that I would do. I would be creating blog posts and videos, and by now I would have like hundreds of videos and blog posts that I could disseminate. And also just all of it would be, it's all valuable information. It's, that I could help startups and entrepreneurs. So creating content, a customer avatar, creating nurture funnels, I would say that's definitely one of the main big mistakes that I see entrepreneurs and companies, businesses make, is that they definitely they have a product and they really want to push the sale really quickly. And one of the things I've learned over a period of time as I've been creating this book, as I've been working with private clients, is like, you want to ascend your prospects through a funnel, through, I guess, a series of interactions, touch points, instead of just pushing the sale right away. Like, you want to maybe send them some content, then maybe send them a video, maybe they'll see a retargeting ad, and then they'll get to know you and your brand over a period of time better, and then they're much more likely to purchase from you because they already know who you are.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to dive further into more of Gene's book. Again, Her book is called Win New Customers, and we're going to talk a little more about the genesis behind it. And then we're going to get into some self-branding, entrepreneurship, mentorship advice from someone like Jean, because she's so experienced, and we definitely got to leverage her. So stay tuned. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll get right back. Thanks.
We ask all our patients about abuse because it is so common and because it affects your health. If your partner physically hurts you or makes you feel worthless, you can start having health issues like headaches, depression, or pregnancy complications. If you have experienced this, I'm sorry. You don't deserve to be treated that way. For help with domestic violence, call 211 or visit 211oc.org/DV. We can overcome domestic violence.
It's one thing to be aware of breast cancer. It's another to do something about it. Here's to the heroes who make pink so much more than a color. Act, donate, get involved at komen.org/morethanpink.
Una cosa es estar consciente del cáncer de seno y otra es hacer algo al respecto. Celebramos a los héroes que quieren hacer una diferencia. Quieren salir y actuar. Quieren demostrar a diario que son mucho más que un color. Celebramos a las personas que son más que rosa. Actúe, done, participe. Visite komen.org/español. Un mensaje de servicio público de Susan G. Komen.
All right, guys, what's going on? Entrepreneur Nation with Ash Kumra here on KCI 88.9 FM. I have Jean Ginzburg, and she's the best-selling author of Win New Customers. For those who are just jumping on, we are going to go to a deep dive into her book tenets, and then we're going to get into self-branding marketing advice. For those who don't know who Jean is, in case you just jumped on or you just didn't get to hear that introduction, she is a very seasoned digital marketing expert. She's worked with not only Fortune 500 brands, but she's also worked with startups, and she has a very innovative approach in various industries, such as courses, such as, marketing your funnels, such as how to help people get the right message out there. I was really intrigued when she was talking about the avatars and how that represents your brand identity, which we'll get into in a little bit. But Jean, I'm curious. Actually, I had told you right before the break that I was going to talk to you about the book. I wanted to know, how did you become a bestseller? What was your launch strategy?
That's a good question. So about 3 weeks before the launch of the book, it was a pretty hectic time, I have to be honest. I was working on finalizing the actual book itself and getting it ready for Amazon and CreateSpace. And then I was also working on all of the promotion. And I would say I did all the promotion myself. I did not outsource it at that point to anybody. This was back in September. And I'd say I utilized a lot of my social media. I utilized my email list. I've utilized partners or people I just knew in the industry. So I would say that was my strategy. So I did Facebook Lives for the week before the launch, talking about actually taking a chapter, 5 chapters from the book, and talking more about them during the Facebook Lives. I used email to send out launch emails and notifications to my email list. I used a lot of social media, so I have a pretty decent following on LinkedIn. I have, at that time, I think I almost had 10,000 LinkedIn connections. So I would post every day, several times a day, I would say, getting ready for the launch and kind of teasing people, talking about the launch. And then also Facebook, decent following on Facebook as well. So I used social media, I would say, and email as my methods to be the #1 bestseller. And then, so just kind of a bit of a perspective on Amazon. In order to be the #1 bestseller, you have to get a large number of people buying your book in a very short amount of time. That's how the Amazon algorithm works. I don't know if I'm,
No, why don't you go into that? Like, tell me more about that process. It's really interesting.
Sure. So, yeah. So in terms of just how the algorithm works, I don't know if this is like a trade secret or not, but all algorithms work differently. But for the Amazon one, in order to get really high ranking in a category, you have to get a ton of people buying your book in a very short amount of time. So that is usually like within an hour or two. So you have to send a lot of traffic to your book page and have people purchase it, so that way you can be, and the way it works is that when you go on Amazon and you put your book up there, you are also you can add yourself to categories. And so you can be like for example, I was a #1 bestseller in the online advertising category, in the entrepreneurship and small business category. So so again, you're sending traffic to your Amazon page. People are purchasing it within a short amount of time, and then that's how but you just have to have a very, a very large network in order for that to occur,
Did you specifically pick a like a vertical because it's easier? Like, is there like a way of saying, like, is there like a hack that says your book could be in 4 different categories, but you focus on one category because there's less competition?
Yeah, so that is how it works. So some categories are more competitive than others. That's just how it is, because there's maybe a lot of people who want to write books on, I don't know, self-improvement, for example, but less people who want to write books about law office marketing, for example. So, like, for example, law office marketing was the one I was also part of a category, and I'm still #1 on there because there's just not a lot of people writing.
You're not
books.
A lawyer.
I'm not all of this can be applied to law office marketing. I mean, it could be applied to many different industries, many different verticals, because these are concepts that are for digital marketing, just for any business. If you have a business and you want to get your name out there, or if you want to get your personal brand out there, this book will tell you how to do that. But I do have a niche that I focus on with my clients, with my private clients.
And that's the e-courses and stuff.
Yep.
That's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's dive into the book a little more. Talk us through the chapters and, walk us through the chapters if you don't mind.
Sure. So the first 3 chapters, I get into some of the objections that people have about digital marketing. So I talk about, one of the things that people talk to me about when they're talking about digital marketing is, like, I don't have the time for digital marketing. And I feel like that's kind of a difficult one to address, because of course we never have the time for anything because we are so busy these days. But in order to grow your business, you have to be doing some sort of marketing. I would recommend doing digital marketing because I'm sure that your customers or your prospects are online. But you have to be, there's no way to grow a business unless you're doing some sort of marketing. So having the time is extremely important for digital marketing. And so that's definitely one of my chapters that I go into, because we all need to make the time for that, because otherwise that our businesses are not growing. And I go through a few items on there, like how to automate things, like how to do marketing automation and landing page templates, how to do automation for social media. I actually have a little hack in there that I created, how I do all my social media through this automation process that is just absolutely easy. I just create a spreadsheet. I put, like, all my posts and links to any videos or any of the content that I want to put up there, and one of my team members actually does it on my behalf. So I write all the copy for it, and then they do it on my behalf. So that is the first chapter, is talking about how I don't have time, and so just streamlining and automating your processes a little bit. So the second chapter goes into how people are not technologically savvy. That's definitely one of the objections that I get from people, is that, if I get into digital marketing, it's going to be all tech, and I hear that it can be challenging from kind of the beginning stages if you look at it, but at the same time, technology has grown and just leaped so quickly recently that everything's really is integrated now. You don't really have to be like a tech guru in order to use these technology platforms.
What do you mean? Give me an example of that.
So, for example, like WordPress, right? Here's the perfect example, right? Back in the day, 10 years ago, I would have to code all of my landing pages, all of my websites by hand. You don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to know HTML. WordPress was a lifesaver for a lot of people, so you could do drag and drop everything in WordPress, type out your copy, put in some images, videos, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to know anything about coding when you're using WordPress. For example, landing page templates and builders. There's things like I'm trying to think of Optimize Press, Lead Pages. There's a few builders out there. So yeah, again, you don't need to be technologically savvy in order to use them. All you do is you sign up for the platform, you get an account, and then you start building your pages. Most of them have templates. All you got to do is just write some copy, put in some headlines, add some images or videos, and you can probably create a landing page within, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, like a simple one. So, and then everything also is integrated. That's one of the things I definitely talk about in the book in terms of, for example, a good example would be like Shopify. So Shopify has done a really good job integrating with other platforms. So like they integrate with your email marketing, like with MailChimp. They integrate with inventory. They integrate with like inventory platforms. They integrate with landing page platforms. So everything is integrated. So all the data can be passed back across platforms. And that way you don't have to like look at reports here and look at reports on this platform. So it just makes things a lot easier, and you don't have to be, again, technologically savvy to use these platforms, because everything now is like drag and drop for the most part.
Okay.
So those would be that's the second chapter, is I'm not technologically savvy. And then the third one is my business is different. I hear that a lot. It's like, oh, my business is different, I don't really need marketing. Well, as I mentioned earlier, we all need marketing. No matter if you're in any sort of business, if you're not doing marketing, you're probably stagnating in your business, or your business is stagnating. So no matter what kind of business you have, there is some sort of digital marketing or marketing that you can do in order to get your name out there. And then after that, I get really into the main points, the framework that I've been using with my private clients over the last 4.5 years since I've had my agency. So I talk about, like I mentioned, developing your customer avatar, and I feel that's extremely important. That was like the first chapter that I talk about, because if you don't know who your ideal target market is, no matter how awesome your marketing is, it's not going to be effective, because you're not going to be getting to the ideal target market. They're not going to be like getting the message that you're sending across, because it's just not going to be relevant to them. And then I talk about a product offering strategy. So basically it's like an ascension. So a lot of times a business might have a product. Let's say, for example, you're a consultant and you have like a $2,000 consulting package that you want to sell. That's great, but most of the time people are not going to buy it right off the bat, because that's a pretty large investment. So what you do in a product offering strategy is you ascend your prospect over a period of time to get to that $2,000 point. But first you might want to give them some free content. Maybe you want to give them what we call a tripwire, which is like a low offer product, like for maybe $7, $10, $20. But over this period of time, as they're engaging with you with this content, as they are maybe buying your lower cost products, they're getting to know you better, and they're getting to know your personality. They're getting to know the brand, the mission, the vision, the values, and what your products and services are all about. So having an ascension strategy, as I mentioned earlier, like not pushing your sale right away, I think is extremely important. And I think that a lot of times that's one of the biggest mistakes I see entrepreneurs make. Then I get into content strategy, which I also mentioned a little bit earlier. So we talk about what most of the time people ask me, like, what kind of content should I create? Well, look at your customer avatar, create content that addresses their pain points and frustrations, and put it in a format that you think your audiences would like. So a lot of times, for example, I really push video these days, because video is a really it's just a medium that a lot of people are comfortable with now, and you can use it on your mobile phone, and it's a lot easier, I feel like. And I feel like a lot of times people don't always read, so watching a video would be really beneficial for people. Then I talk about Facebook advertising, which is a big piece of the strategy. So in order to really ascend your customers on the back end through some sort of funnel, you want to feed this funnel with Facebook advertising. I feel is a great way to do that now, and the reason why I feel like Facebook ads are amazing is because it has really, really targeted audiences. So you can find people who like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, for example. I mean, so you can get really, really granular with your target audience, and other platforms don't really have that kind of capability, and Facebook does. Then I talk about landing pages, and if you are creating, let's say, a nurture funnel, if you're trying to get people to come into the fold, let's say you're creating Facebook ads and you want to send traffic somewhere. So landing pages are also important, because once they see let's say your Facebook ad, then next thing they're going to see is a landing page which talks more, it gives provide more information about your product, your service, your content, whatever it might be. So having good messaging, a good headline on your landing pages is also very important. And then I get really into the nurture funnels and the marketing automation, which is kind of the crux of it all, the meat of it all, because you want to, again, ascend your prospects over a period of time, and that can be done through nurture funnels. And then the last piece is the retargeting, which again, I also use with my private clients, and I feel is extremely beneficial that I think a lot of businesses miss. It's very cost effective, and retargeting is basically pixeling people who have been to your site or perhaps have engaged with you on Facebook or other mediums and finding them again, not like actually literally finding them, but putting them into a pool of individuals and then serving them up additional ads. So they were what we call they're already warm traffic instead of cold traffic. So cold traffic are people who have never heard of you, don't know who you are, never heard of your brand. And then warm traffic are people who know a little bit about you. And so it's much easier to have someone purchase your products at that point when they already know something about you. So that was a really long description.
Wow, no,
of my
that was
book.
Amazing. That was such a like, I love that marathon. You were so on it. I didn't want to interrupt you because you were so like.
You probably should have interrupted me at one point.
No. You're very humble. You did a very, very good job. Thank you for sharing the book overview. And for everyone, you got to get this book. It's obvious that the passion is exuding in her when she talks about it. Win new customers. And we're going to talk a little more about how we can apply this to the self-branding world and general marketing as a whole after a few commercials. So stay tuned.
We ask all our patients about abuse because it is so common and because it affects your health. If your partner physically hurts you or makes you feel worthless, you can start having health issues like headaches, depression, or pregnancy complications. If you have experienced this, I'm sorry. You don't deserve to be treated that way. For help with domestic violence, call 211 or visit 211oc.org/DV. We can overcome domestic violence.
It's one thing to be aware of breast cancer. It's another to do something about it. Here's to the heroes who make pink so much more than a color. Act, donate, get involved at komen.org/morethanpink.
Una cosa es estar consciente del cáncer de seno y otra es hacer algo al respecto. Celebramos a los héroes que quieren hacer una diferencia. Quieren salir y actuar. Quieren demostrar a diario que son mucho más que un color. Celebramos a las personas que son más que rosa.
Mom, Dad, I need to talk to you. I'm scared.
I don't think I can go back to school tomorrow.
There's a guy and some of his friends who are after me.
They hate my clothes, the way I talk, everything about me.
Mom, Dad, did you hear me? I'm scared.
Listen to what they have to say. Take a stand. Lend a hand. Stop bullying now. For more information, visit stopbullyingnow.hrsa.gov.
Hi, this is Christina Ricci with RAIN. Every 2 minutes, another American is sexually assaulted. If you or someone you know has been sexually assaulted, you are not alone. Help is just a call or click away through the National Sexual Assault Hotline. Please call 1-800-656-HOPE, that's HOPE, or visit RAIN.org, that's RAINN.org.
All right, guys, Entrepreneur Nation with Ash Kumra here on KCI 88.9 FM. I'm here with Ginzburg, best-selling author of Win New Customers and a digital marketing expert. We just went way, way, way deep into how to become a successful company in terms of leveraging digital marketing. Jean gave a phenomenal overview on her book, and we have a little surprise for you on how you can get that book at the end of the show. But right now, I wanted to segue into the topic that we continued from last week that many of you had said you wanted me to talk about further, which is the whole self-branding and how you can leverage that. And this is specific to individuals who have companies and that are using self-branding to not only accelerate their own mission and message, but also be an extension of the brand that they represent or company that they represent. So, Gene, I'm curious. When you said video, one thing that came to my mind is, do you have a differentiation on how you position yourself with live video versus pre-recorded?
Well, it depends. I'd say on your messaging and how you want to, I guess, get your, personal brand across. Also, from a live video to a pre-recorded video, I'd say, I guess a good example of live video would be like Facebook Live, which I've done in the past quite a bit. And that is usually, I would say, more for, quick messages, quick points to get across, because, it's live. So you want to, I think people might be not always prepared for it, because it's like, I'm just going live on Facebook right now. But pre-recorded, you can do a lot more. I also feel like, because if it's pre-recorded, people are, their mindset is there. They're like, okay, I'm going to, let's say, review this piece of content or review this course that's a pre-recorded video. So I think how you're positioning yourself might be, is different between live versus pre-recorded.
What is, you mentioned LinkedIn when we talked earlier about your book strategy. Why are you bullish on LinkedIn?
Well, because I think it's a professional network, so there is a lot of opportunity there to connect with individuals who are also in the professional space. I think Facebook is good, but at the same time, it's not a professional network. Like, there's a bunch of other, all kinds of people on Facebook, which is great, but at the same time, it's not always, I'm trying to connect with professionals for the most part, and people who are entrepreneurs or people who are in business. So that's why I really like using LinkedIn. Okay,
but what are some specific things you can do on LinkedIn that you couldn't do on Facebook, let's say?
Well, their capabilities are not nearly as robust as Facebook. For example, like, you can't do LinkedIn live videos as you can on Facebook. They don't have nearly the same kind of retargeting capabilities or even ads capabilities on LinkedIn. But again, I think it's where my audiences are hanging out. And I would say the first thing that I also talk about in the book when you're talking about the customer avatar and your ideal target market, is like, where are your audiences hanging out? So I think my audiences are hanging out on LinkedIn. That's why I've been pretty robust in using that platform.
So when you talk about publishing content, would you publish it on LinkedIn directly, or would you use like a Medium, or?
No, I publish everything directly on LinkedIn. I upload all of my videos onto LinkedIn directly. I didn't use like a third-party platform. So it's all native. Same thing with Facebook. So it's all native content.
So you have a native approach versus relinking it, like a YouTube video on LinkedIn, as an example.
Well, before LinkedIn rolled out native video, I did have to have YouTube links to it. But now you can just upload a native video to LinkedIn. So yes, I absolutely would recommend highly using a native approach. So uploading all your videos to Facebook, uploading all your videos to LinkedIn, and not using like YouTube. And the reason for that is because you're getting better engagement, and also you have better reporting, because you can see what kind of engagement you're getting on the native platform versus like going back to YouTube if you were, let's say, using a YouTube link.
I love that. Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. So for people who are trying to get speaking gigs, or you mentioned podcasts earlier, what advice do you have for them on like how to find opportunities or what to say, assuming they're like a CEO or a founder of a tech company or something? Just curious, any thoughts?
Sure. I mean, I've been doing a lot of podcasts in the last couple of months since I've launched my book, and I think, of course, the book has been very helpful. I'll be honest with that. When I tell people that I've published a book and I was a #1 bestseller, people seem to respond more. Before, when I tried doing...
So sorry to interrupt you, but finding a leverage selling point is your introduction. So for some people, it's best-selling author. For some people, it's I'm a 5X exited founder. For some, it's I was the candidate. I was the first guy on The Bachelor. I mean, I'm something like that has status and that you won't forget. Is that what you're saying?
I would say so, because honestly, I did try to be a podcast guest on multiple podcasts in the past before I published my book, and it was I didn't really get much response or feedback from the podcast hosts. But now that I published my book, it's like people are much more open and much more willing to talk to me and have me as a guest on their show. So, I mean, good or bad, however you want to see it or spin it, it's like, yeah, unfortunately, there has to be some sort of leverage, I believe, which, like you mentioned, you either, maybe you're a 5 exited, entrepreneur and you've sold 5 different companies in the past, or maybe you were on The Bachelor before, or maybe maybe there's some sort of, I don't want to say celebrity status, but some sort of, a concept or leverage that you can use to be, let's say, a speaker. I mean, again, same thing with speaking. I've been applying for speaking gigs, and before I applied before I published my book, and didn't really have an opportunity to do anything because I felt like maybe people didn't, the people who were selecting speakers felt like maybe I wasn't experienced enough. But now that I have a #1 best-selling author, it's been also easier for me to get speaking gigs.
Okay, no, that's amazing. That's a good insight. Everyone, if there's one piece of nugget of wisdom that you can get from this on the conversation on self-branding, it's really how you present yourself when you are presenting some leverage when you are presenting yourself. What she just said is so effective. I can speak from personal experience on this. Many people of Jean's stature I've seen use this, and she's clearly used it, which is what she said. And so really, really, really think about that. Just some more thoughts on the self-branding. How can you use, when you're marketing yourself with, like, you seem to be a big fan of Facebook ads. Are you a fan of using the video ads or the text ads or the picture ads? Because there's several options, right?
Absolutely, video ads nowadays.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So you get a lot more engagement with users using when they're actually interacting with your video versus with images. And I think just because images have been around for a long time on Facebook, that's the way Facebook advertising started. What is it, like 6-7 years ago at this point? So I think also people have become more desensitized to the images. And they're just much more open to engaging with a video. So absolutely, video in the news feed or on Instagram. I don't typically use like the Right Rail or Audience Network as much, but you get a lot more engagement when you're on the news feed.
Okay. So Instagram versus Facebook. When is it make sense to do an Instagram video ad versus a Facebook video ad? Again, for a self-brand, for an individual.
For an individual.
Yeah, like one of your top e-course learners, and they want to promote, hey, I have this new e-course and I want to get out there. Like, use that as an example.
I would in that case use both, actually. The only thing to keep in mind with Instagram is that I believe they can only be 2 minutes long.
Yep.
So you cannot go beyond that. So if your video is more than that, then you actually cannot use, like when you're setting up the ads within the Facebook interface, you cannot use Instagram at that point, and it has to be excluded as an ad channel. So, but I would definitely use both. Again, keeping in mind also where are your audiences hanging out. So are your audiences hanging out on Facebook, or are they hanging out on Instagram, or maybe they're on both?
Okay. Well, we are wrapping up with the show. First off, Jean, I just want to thank you for being on the show. You were really, really... You're smart. I don't know what else to say.
Wow, thank you.
You know your stuff. It's obvious. And your book is, I cannot wait to read it. Seriously, this is why I love the holidays. You have more time to do the things that you say you're going to do. So I can say I'm going to read this because I'll have more time with the holidays. Where could people get this book, and is there a way to contact you?
Sure. So I'm really excited. I'm giving the book away for free in PDF format to anybody who is listening on the show. So super excited about that. So if you want to sign up for the book, it's an instant download. You just go to GeneGinzburg.com/Youngry. So that's GeneGinzburg.com/Youngry. And you can also get in touch with me. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. So you can go to Facebook, go to Gene Ginzburg Digital Marketing Expert, or just find me on LinkedIn. Also, Gene Ginzburg Digital Marketing Expert. Those, I'd say, are the main social media channels that I use. But yeah, I'd love for you to get the book. I think there's so much value in it. And we talked a lot about all of these things in the book today on the show. So GeneGinzburg.com/Youngry.
Okay. Well, there you have it, folks. Tune in for next week's show. I cannot wait to talk about our next guest. We will make an announcement a few days before. Every Thursday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. This is Ash Kumra with KUCI 80.9 FM, Entrepreneur Nation. I'm going to play a little music, and then our next show is going to jump on at 6 o'clock. So stay tuned, and you don't want to miss it. Happy holidays, everyone, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.